Thank you very much. Very excited to be here today. Next year, Jeff, I do want to do founder war stories, okay? Because I have...
And actually, that's good for everybody to hear. Get in touch with us. So if
Yeah.
you have a story to tell, bring it up.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to bring up. I think one of the things that we love, now this is the third year of Boise Startup Week, and Vynyl's been a part of it for a lot of those years, and a big part. And one thing I do want to take a moment to do before I go on is just acknowledge a lot of the folks that have worked very, very hard to make this event happen. Nick Krabs, some people have mentioned, is one of my partners, who's done a wonderful job making this happen. Chris Hoyd, who's somewhere around here, has done a wonderful job helping make this happen. Peter and Meredith and so many other people from Vynyl, as well as some of our awesome sponsors and other partners. Anyway, we're very excited about it. But these things don't happen without a community coming together and taking part in it and making sure that events like this are possible. Without people coming, like Jim from Black Box and the folks from Simply Eloped, which I'm super excited about. I actually planned my wedding in 5 days, and so I can't wait to tell you my story and why I'm so excited about what you guys are doing. Because I put in a list of great ideas somewhere, after planning my wedding in 5 days, start a service to help people plan their wedding in 5 days, right? All right, but now I'm glad somebody else is doing it and doing it so well. So anyway, we're really excited, but all this can't happen without so many people from this community, this startup community here in Boise and beyond. Not just startups, not just founders, established companies, banks, et cetera, coming in and being generous, obviously with things like sponsorship dollars and with their time, but with their stories. And really opening up and being honest about what they've gone through and where opportunities exist. So for all of you that are out here who haven't been involved yet, this is not a closed opportunity. This is going to continue happening. Please get in touch with Jeff Reynolds. Please get in touch with Nick Krabs. Please get in touch with the folks at Trailhead. Please get in touch with Chris Hoyd. Fill out our contact form on our website and say, I want to be involved in Boise Startup Week, and we'll get you hooked up with the right people because none of this can happen without all of you. On that same note, what I'm going to be doing today is talking a little bit about some of the other side of this, which is when you're a startup, when you're a new company, when you're trying to innovate in a really hard space. And the space that we're going to focus on a little bit today is insurance, right? Which is one of the oldest industries in the world. You think of insurance as maybe not necessarily ripe for innovation, or you might think of insurance companies as getting ready to be disrupted. But when you're a young company and you want to solve some of these big problems, it's really valuable to have partners that are in that business. And so for us at Vynyl, we've been really lucky to work closely with Blue Cross of Idaho, who's been one of our wonderful partners. And I'd like to bring up to have a conversation with me, Chris Cullen from Blue Cross of Idaho. Why don't you tell the folks here a little bit about you and who you are, just briefly about your background, and a little bit about what Blue Cross of Idaho is doing in terms of digital innovation.
Awesome. Thank you. So what a great crowd. I am very, very excited to be here. I've had the chance to listen to some things today. Very, very impressed with all the entrepreneurs before us. So my name is Chris Cullen. I am the Director of Digital Engagement Services at Blue Cross of Idaho. I've been there for about 6 years. I've actually been in a technology career. It's a little bit embarrassing, over 20 years. And sometimes some of the kids that I work with, sometimes they're like, Chris, it's 30. So always in a technology enabling role.
And so, the first thing I wanted to sort of ask you about is, obviously, like I said, it's a very well-established industry, right? And there's a lot of regulation, there are barriers to entry, it's a hard business to sort of get into. But since this is Startup Week, right, how do you as a company, how does Blue Cross interact with sort of innovative technology companies, startups, and what have you learned from doing that, from doing business with them? How does your enterprise use the tools that you've picked up from startups, partner with them to make innovation happen?
So one of the things that I'd like to start with real quick is Blue Cross of Idaho is a big brand name. It's probably something that everybody recognizes. And what I'd also like to say is we love Idaho. We love Idahoans, and we focus on Idahoans. The other side of that is we are a company that is 74 years old. How do you become innovative? How do you think of new things when you have built your success based on a business model that is 74 years old? So we really did have a big wake-up call. Part of our core values, and I think what really makes us successful, is we love our members. And one of the things that, as an insurance company, people don't wake up in the morning and they say, "Oh, I want to go buy my insurance today," right? I can't wait to have to call that company and find out how do I navigate through the complexity of paying my bill, or who do
Right.
I go to?
But everybody needs it.
And everybody needs it. And we are committed. So probably what I would like to also share is when we talk about regulation, just to set the stage a little bit. It is very, very complex. We work in an industry that has regulations from the federal government. We have regulations from the Department of Insurance. We have regulations with regards to HIPAA, which is your patient record information that you have to keep secure. And we also have regulations from a little thing called the law, right?
Right.
So navigating what's happening with the Affordable Care Act and what you're even allowed to do from a law standpoint. So we are.
So you're saying you can't just build something real fast, throw it out there and see if
Right.
it works, and
Right.
then if it doesn't or if it hurts something, then you pull
Right.
it down and you try again, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And we're continuously scenario modeling. And the other thing is, because we've been an old company based on old policies, we have our hands tied on some things. What we have found is it's not necessarily technology that is your barrier to innovation. And what we've seen with technology lately is amazing things. But where you really struggle with innovation is the culture of pessimism. So you have people who have been doing this for a long time. They've been successful. It's that very stereotypical, this is the way we've always done it. So what we have been doing over the last couple of years is really partnering, right? We're really trying to take this big brand name that is being disrupted
Yeah.
and turn it into, or at least influence it to have a startup mentality, right? How do you make a big brand and turn it into an entrepreneur?
Right.
And our biggest successes come from partnering with people like you and people in the community, right? Who are bringing your innovative thought, the new way to use the new technologies, and you have talents that we don't have. And for some of you, this might be a no-brainer, right? And I know we have a lot of developers in the house, the startup teams who, they're agile, right? So I have teams of developers and software engineers. And just to talk the talk of being an agile house or an agile software developer is totally new. And so these are some of the things that we're embracing. How do you become agile? How do you shave time off of development? How do you think out of the box, using collaborative tools?
Right.
Things like, if some of you kids, and I say kids because I'm 30 years in the industry, if you use Slack, right? So we've been introduced to Slack, and tools like AHA, all of these collaborative tools that a big brand like us who has to correct patient, or I'm sorry, we have to protect patient information. We're really scared of things like that. So those are some of the tools.
Right. And I think it's been really interesting to see that sort of cultural change within your organization, just in the short time that we've been working with you. I also think that your leadership has done a really good job of helping to drive that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's, obviously there's a lot coming from the grassroots and the
Right.
team getting better, but I think that, your leadership has really sort of thrown down the gauntlet and said, we will be more agile, right? We will work in a faster way, because that's what you need to do to serve your members.
That's actually a really great point, because Blue Cross of Idaho over the last 2 years has really renovated, and we have brought a whole bunch of life to our new leadership. We have a new CEO, and she is encouraging us. She's encouraging us to think differently. She's encouraging us to use technology. She's encouraging us to take risks.
Yeah.
And we have a new CIO who has recognized how underinvested we are in tech and is bringing that.
Right. So let's get back. You first started by saying you're very committed to Idaho. We love being here in Idaho. Vynyl loves being here. I'm from Los Angeles personally, and when we were first, I was first brought here, and somebody said, one of my partners, he grew up here, and he said, oh, you have to go to Boise. We know so many great, innovative people. There's so many great developers there. We should really be hiring people in Boise, Idaho. I was sitting there in Los Angeles saying, wait a minute, why would I leave California and go to Idaho to hire a bunch of software developers? And sort of when I got here, I was really blown away, I think, by the quality of the people here, by the quality of the companies here, and sort of it's been wonderful to see how this sort of ecosystem has grown and changed over time. But outside of Boise itself, Idaho has this sort of urban and rural divide, if you will, right? Boise's very urban, right? This is a big city, but outside of here, it's very rural. And so, what are the unique sort of things that you're working on, and what are some technologies that might be coming down, that you think are interesting to help sort of bridge that gap between, access to care, cost of care, quality of care, between sort of a city or a rural population?
So not everyone may realize it, but healthcare is really, really hot right now. So even for the big technology giants, everyone is building health and life cycle verticals. They want to help solve this problem of the things that Ian just discussed. Complex care, access to care. It costs so much money. And by the way, Blue Cross of Idaho is very dedicated to those things, bringing down the cost of care and accessibility. So what is unique that Ian alluded to is in Idaho, we are colorblind, if you will. We are county blind, right? We love all of our members. It doesn't matter. We want to serve everyone the best that we can. But what is very, very intriguing about Idaho is we do have very deep population in certain areas, and then we have what is called the rural population. And every state in the United States has the rural population. And what is even more important about Idaho is more than rural, we have what's considered frontier. And what is interesting about frontier is that those are areas within the nation that have absolutely zero connectivity at all. And when you are off the grid, you are off the grid. And it is exciting because Idahoans are independent, and we like that, right? There's part of us as Idahoans that digs that. Hey, I'm off the grid. But from when you are working to improve healthcare and try to make it accessible, if we look at some of the trends right now, our older populations are moving to our frontier areas, and our millennials are moving to our populated areas. So the people that really need the care are moving further away. So some of the really exciting things that we are looking at is how do you use technology in a way that can bring care or other health impactful things to these other areas.
Right. So what, like telemedicine, or these things that you're looking at?
Telemedicine, we've got wearables, but what I was actually going to get to, and this is what I love about Boise Startup Week this year, where we've got the food theme. Food has such a strong aspect and tie into your healthcare. So telemedicine is just one aspect of things. If you think about what's really going on with healthcare these days, it's all about the data, and it's all about your electronic health record, and it's all about you as a person and what is your experience, right? People talk about the customer journey, but how could anyone presume to know everyone's customer journey? It's completely based on you and what your needs are. And when we talk about food and fitness, it's tying your health data to your fitness data, to the food data, to your medication data. There are 37,000 health and wellness apps on the Apple iPhone today.
Wow.
So
that's an enormous amount.
But
I think that what's also interesting as you talk about data is that the payer, right, the insurance company, sort of is this central hub that has information that people want.
Right.
And I think that it's been really great also to hear, from Blue Cross of Idaho and see it, really start to happen across the industry that the payers, the insurance companies are saying, well, this is your data, right?
Right.
We need to find ways to make it easier for people to access that, so they can combine it with the information from some of these other applications, their exercise data, their food intake, and get really better recommendations for what they can do to advance their own health. Yeah, really interesting. Well, I have to ask one hard question here, though, right? Since we're Blue Cross of Idaho, you're a 75-year-old company. A lot of this stuff is being worked on by other companies. Berkshire Hathaway, Chase, and Amazon just partnered to launch a new insurance company. I think you've got companies like Alphabet and Google investing in Oscar, right, which are insurance companies with provider networks in other places, and they're starting from the apps, right? They're starting from this sort of digital place. How do you compete? How do you compete with them?
Right. So I love this question. So I've already mentioned, right, that we have been disrupted. And we've been following the disruption. So it really, really took hold about 4 years ago. I mean, billions and billions of dollars of venture capital is going into these startup companies to disrupt insurance. And we've been watching it. And what we feel we bring to the table is, especially going through digital transformation, right? I don't believe that we would be able to be successful and be able to compete with some of these. These are true threats, right, to the industry if we didn't go through digital transformation. But what I think we bring to the table is the understanding, this deep subject matter expertise about navigating through the regulations, right? Understanding the healthcare system, understanding where we want to improve it, where it needs to be improved, and the pure love for the member, right, and bringing back. So where the real strength lies is in the clinical expertise, the technical empowerment, and the innovation that our partners bring us.
So here, final question. Again, Startup Week. How's your Startup Week going? What have you seen around it at other events that really sort of resonated with you? And then, from there, sort of what advice do you have for founders or startups that are interested in finding solutions to some of these huge problems in industries like yours?
So what I'd love to say, being a big brand in an entrepreneurial world here, is partner with the big brands, right? Go out there and be brave and go talk to them, because they need you as much as you need them. Or you might really not need them, but they need you. I had a really, really fun session in terms of giving advice back. So I'd love to share about the mentoring lunch that we had yesterday. We had 500 high school students here. And I was so impressed. I had the opportunity to sit with some high school students, and they were just amazing, and they were totally engaged, and they knew what they wanted, and they had some great questions. And the last question for everyone was, what words would you leave to inspire people to be more innovative or go what they're after? And I thought, I'd just like to close by sharing that with you today. So the first answer was, do what makes you happy and make other people happy. Take the opportunities that are shown to you. Do something different that no one else has ever done. And give opportunities to other people.
I think that's a big one. And I think you guys have done a wonderful job of doing that here in this community. And we're really excited to follow that example and do it as well. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
All right.